Today I'm joined by Richard Parson. Richard is the managing director of Fudge Kitchen, who has been producing the most outstanding and trailblazing confectionery for 40 years. So, hi, Richard.
Hi, Simon. Thank you for having me.
That's okay. Thank you for joining us. So, Richard, tell us a little bit more about Fudge Kitchen.
Well, firstly, I'm not going to take all the credit for those 40 years. I'm not quite that old myself yet. But the company is, yeah, it's a really lovely business. We're one of the kind of few businesses in the UK that's also employee owned, which makes it extra special. But yeah, we're an artisan confectionery producer. We have six shops around the UK, which we've had for some of them have literally celebrated their 40th and 30th birthdays this year at the same site. And then we have a production kitchen here in Kent, where we're based, where our head office is, where we produce a similar type of product that's intended for wholesale purposes. Most of our customers are luxury department stores, hotels, airlines, and gifting hamper companies. So yeah, it's a very varied and interesting business.
It sounds it, yeah, like
Mm.
that's great, and yeah, what a great accolade that some of the shops have been celebrating their 30th and 40th sort of anniversaries in the same location. That's brilliant. And um, so let's go back a bit and
Mm.
tell us how you got involved in Fudge Kitchen, because as you say, you haven't been around for
Yeah.
40 years. You're certainly not old enough for that. So how did you
No.
get involved?
So I'm a relative newbie. The average term of service in the business is around 25 years for like kind of the core staff. It's so I joined in January of 2020, just before the pandemic, kind of um preparing. I'd never worked in food before. I'd My background was I was in creative marketing. So I joined the company as the marketing manager, having worked in a little bit in luxury retail, but then more recently in the tech industry and security and defense. Very different, much less tasty.
Yes.
So, but I was looking for something that was, you know, something to really, no pun intended, but sink your teeth into that was going to be a creative outlet. And if you get into working in food, you never want to leave because even competitors, it's such a nice bunch of people who work in food and drink. So, looking to do something like that. Also, we're based in Kent, which is where I kind of grew up. Beats the commute into London. So, yeah, I joined to kind of manage all the campaigns, promotions, internal comms, PR, everything. We're quite a small team. And then COVID happened, the shops shut down, we pivoted entirely to online. We already had an online presence, but it was a good year and a half, 2 years of kind of really um there was no game plan, you know? It was the kind of new world, really, really interesting. I'm going to kind of condense the last 5 years as fast as I can. But yeah, we became an employee-owned business in 2022. Our company founder, Sian Holt, who ran the business since the 80s, announced that she was going to be slowly stepping down and we were going to become employee-owned. Um, and just at that point, she unfortunately suffered a double aneurysm, and her slow transition out became an immediate one. And so our kind of very tight-knit leadership team had to kind of rapidly work out how this was going to continue without her. Um, we had a we had a kind of interim period where um, we had um, the founder's husband operated as our MD in a kind of bridging period between being privately owned to being employee owned. And then I took over the role of MD in April of last year. So
2022.
yeah, it was
Right. Well, so a bit of
yeah.
yeah, a bit of it's certainly a challenging time, and I think
Yeah.
one of the things that to highlight there is actually the importance of of having that succession planning in place, because we just don't know
Yeah.
what's around the corner, do we? We don't know,
No.
what's going to happen. I'm sure, that owner didn't expect that to happen to them. So
I
actually,
mean, she'd done the heavy lifting in
yeah,
employee ownership was
yeah,
her succession planning, but the technicalities would have, the idea was that we would have had a couple of years of properly putting that in place.
handing over. Yeah.
Yeah. So it
Okay.
was, but it was interesting. I think everyone would say that the way that everyone banded together to kind of step up and take responsibility was brilliant. I think it's the kind of top level direction and steering, which was the biggest um, challenge for us. So it was, but because we're all very good at the doing,
Yes.
it's the
Yeah.
being able to step back and look at it from a kind of
So,
without prejudice from the back, which was a big change.
so obviously, like a changing role from you,
Mm,
from being the marketing and brand director,
yeah.
stepping up and being the managing director. And as you've sort of indicated there, a very different role. So how has your
Mm.
role changed from being the marketing and brand director to being a managing director?
I would say it's probably about 70% different.
Okay, yeah.
I was very lucky that um, Sian had a marketing background.
Hmm.
She had a marketing degree. She ran the company from a kind of marketing led. It
Hmm.
always has been and probably always will be. And that was really useful because she and I worked incredibly closely together and were putting long-term plans in place long before any succession planning was kind of coming to light. So I think I had quite a unique perspective on where she thought it should go in the long term. But I find I'm one of those people who, time is one of those old, having worked in defense, one of those old defense sayings,
Yeah,
time spent in planning and reconnaissance is seldom wasted.
yeah, absolutely. I
It's
think so.
all
Yeah.
about, and I don't think I'm a micromanager. I just want to know everything. Like I just
Okay.
need to know how everything works at like a macro level. Um,
But I think, just to,
hmm,
interject there for a second, but you're absolutely right. But that isn't micromanagement. Wanting to know everything
no.
that's going on isn't micromanaging.
Hmm.
Telling everybody what they should be doing is micromanagement.
Oh yeah. I think it's
Knowing what's going on in the organization isn't micromanagement. So
yeah.
yeah, like I thought I'd highlight you're absolutely right
No,
there.
no, definitely. I think you know, it's the firing off quite a few questions. It's maybe my one kind of thing. But I did that anyway. In a marketing role, you have to know how all the little cogs are turning to
Mhm.
make sure the campaign works, to
Yeah,
work out what your return is going to be. And I think that moving into the MD's role, it's that kind of maybe doubled,
yeah,
but it's really useful. And I think that the biggest lesson that I had was to, because we're not a massive team, when we take on someone into a key role, they're not going to do it exactly the same as the person that preceded them.
yeah.
And I know that in myself, someone took my role to run the marketing, and from the beginning, I said, we hired you because you're amazing. Like we can train you for what we need, but we hired for skill and talent, and we'll train you in what we kind of need as a business. But at the same time, you don't need my permission. I had free reign when I was in that role.
And
Do it how you want to do it.
how did you find letting go of those marketing things? Because one, that it was previously your role, but
Mm,
two, you've said your background was marketing brands, marketing communications,
yeah.
etc. So how easy did you find it to let go of what you used to do and focus on now what you need to do to be a great managing director?
Yeah. I think it is about trust, balance, and communication, because I think
Mhm.
if you communicate openly and everyone knows what you're trying to achieve, what you don't want is anyone not doing something because they don't understand what you need from them.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I think that communicating exactly how you feel.
Mhm.
And again, I think that it does come back to, I think, the size of our business is that you constantly felt like you were Anywhere else, you might be stepping on someone else's toes,
Mm,
but we all complement each other in such a nice way that no one's offended by the fact if you say, I don't really like how that looks. They'll say, okay, why? And so, like the little nitpicking things, I can openly say, love it, great direction, maybe just do it like this
mm,
because it needs to do this job.
mhm,
And I know that I'm in a unique position where, you might have a team who's working on all the comms planning, but they ultimately sit in a B2C side of the business, but
mhm,
they're also helping with, marketing and brand materials specifically for a very niche B2B angle.
mhm.
Um, I know they're not going to be put out if I give them advice on this has to be like this because of the nature of the job.
Yeah, yeah.
But as long as you communicate that to them, they're
Mm.
more than happy to do it. And I think it's that mutual respect. They know what I need to achieve overall, or what we as a business need to achieve. So they have a very clear understanding of what's expected of them in order to achieve that with no personal agenda.
And I think, that I think that should be the case. I think there should be open challenge in every
Yeah.
organization. There should be, everybody should be prepared to challenge and to be challenged, because it's
Oh
those
yeah.
discussions and those debates and
Mm.
that actually move things forward and improve things. So I think that's a really good point. And what's the
Yeah.
the biggest challenge that you've personally faced? Being a managing director.
I definitely think it's, and funny enough, I literally had a conversation with kind of some HR professionals this week about it. Is the moving not just particularly from a colleague
Mm,
to everyone's employer.
mm,
That's a huge leap, especially considering there are staff members who have 20 years on my length of service in the business,
yeah,
and we've gone from one person owning the business to it's now for everyone.
yeah,
That is now I'd say that there's two areas.
mm,
That's the biggie
mm,
because trying to do things properly. It's
mhm,
very much a family business,
mm,
which means that there are a lot of policies missing or weren't being managed in the right way.
okay.
It's that maintaining the amazing, amazing culture that we have as a business,
Mm,
but also as an employee-owned business, there is a legal obligation to everyone in the greater good, basically. But the other one is um, we promoted, new directors. We never had a board of directors of the company, taking people who are very good, and I'm exactly this as well. I'd worked in corporate structures, like the tech firm I was at was 700 people across two countries, so I understood, you know, how it functioned. It's very different in a company like ours to go from someone who's pretty capable at the doing to suddenly having to manage people, and not just manage people within a team but the entire kind of HR
yeah.
operational structure that comes with it. And I think that's one of those things that when a company promotes from within, you have it's you might you might save money on not bringing in some very expensive CEO from it externally, but you do need to invest in the people whose entire working life has changed.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I think it's really, so I always think it's really odd in business that we promote people within to be supervisors, managers, leaders, and then they don't get trained how to do it.
Mm,
It's just literally right. You were, the marketing person in the business.
yeah.
Right now, you're a director of the business. Off you go. Um,
Yeah.
and it's yeah, and it still surprises me that you wouldn't put somebody on a machine and say, "Well, just work it out for yourself," or do a marketing campaign, just work it out for yourself. They get training, they learn how to do it. So yeah, I'd like absolutely agree with you in terms of how to that it's important to invest in the people that you've got and the people that you recruit. And yeah, okay. So look, so thank you for sharing and being so open with those challenges. And if you could wave a magic wand right now, what challenge would what's one thing that you'd like to solve?
Oh, it would probably be something really technical and boring. It's again because it's the minutia. It's going to be something. I mean, it would be something for us. I mean, overall, the food and drink, industry is dominated by big retailers. I think there's a lot of kind of the working with, we work with a number of distributors trying to, work as a wholesaler and working with kind of different wholesalers is a very long game. It's part of the business that you see a beautiful product on the shelf and I cannot tell you how much work went into getting it from some artisan producer's kitchen to that shelf. No one's it when you meet a buyer at a trade show and they're there and they're like, "Oh my God, I love this product, let's do it." You're
Mm.
like, "Am I being punked?" It is a bit like it is, and we have some incredible relationships
Mm.
with um like absolute icons of luxury food and drink who we work directly with them on product development. That's great. I think it's there are quite a few systems in place that I wish were much simpler. Um, but again, that's something to anyone pitching for anything these days is I wish it was so much simpler. I think a magic wand would be you know, our product sells itself. If you try it, let's go back to that.
Absolutely, wouldn't it? Yeah, that's what we'd all like,
I
isn't it?
know.
That our
Yeah.
product sells itself. That came out. That somebody else said that to me recently. I can't remember. I'll have to remember where that came up. But yeah, product that sells itself. And what would you say the biggest learning is that you've had since you've been in business?
Ooh, I definitely think it's I don't know. I think personally, I've always been the kind of person that has tried to step up and take over, like not take over, but take on the responsibility to run a project because I did enough horrible group projects at university, where I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have to do your bit and your bit as well. And
Mm,
I think it's that, um, especially when you join a new company, um, you meet people and it's about very quickly trying to work out how the dynamic works. And I do think it's honesty, integrity, and really being like genuinely being as competent as you can for everyone's sake. And I was gonna say something that's probably shouldn't swear, but but
that's okay.
like actually give a shit, like
Yeah,
actually do it. The reason you're there.
yeah.
Um, and I think that is the biggest learning curve, I think, came from identifying what everyone's putting in as a group,
Yeah, yeah.
what they bring, and then work, because you still have to deliver it. At the end of the day, you still have to deliver the project and work out how to use people's strengths, let them play to them so they'll be happy, you'll be happy because you know where you stand. And then I think things are a little bit more effective. I think don't kind of go in looking at all the weaknesses and trying to plug them.
Mm,
It's what are the strengths?
yeah.
Like flip it and try and play to everyone's strengths. So I think you'll end up having a much better result and you'll want to work together again. And the next time you're faced with a similar project or circumstance, you all know how to go into it with mutual respect.
Yeah, and I think that's a great sharing, understanding the team, understanding their strengths, understanding their areas for development as well that
Mm.
they need to develop. And actually, I often think this, when somebody puts together a sports team, it's not all about putting together all the best players. It's about putting
Mm.
together the team that works best together.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you put a sports team together, that had all the best strikers in the team,
yeah.
you know, they may not work well as a team. And if they don't work well as a team,
No.
then it's unlikely the team would be successful. But
Mm.
if you put together a team that works really well together, that's where
Yeah.
you're likely to get the better result. So yeah, great share. And look, there's one question that I always like to ask everybody that's kind enough to join me on this podcast, and that's this: um, what's the best advice that you would give to an 18-year-old you?
Oh, maybe don't take everything so seriously.
Okay, yeah.
Not in a kind of screw about type way. Um, but but um, take a step back and look at it from another perspective. Be prepared to regularly step out of the myopic, even in the most stressful situations, or even in some of the most mundane, things pile up quite quick. And I think that if you're really, really focused on achieving something, it's not about achieving it for achievement's sake. I think it's about being prepared to understand that you're just one part of something. Step back and take in the bigger picture because it will give you a new perspective and make you more appreciative, not just of how far you've come or how you've managed to get there, but it's a bit of a stock take of what's needed to go forward that might not be entirely reliant on yourself.
That's some great advice. I was just
Mm,
making some notes there.
mm,
So yeah, don't take things so seriously.
mm.
With
I do. It is one of those things that I, for all the years of working in marketing or like kind of larger marketing teams, I've worked with, especially in a big corporate structure, where I'd worked before Fudge Kitchen, we were quite close to the legal and finance teams. And they said, your team always seems really, really fun. And I was like, because you have to laugh.
yeah.
Sometimes you really have to because especially in marketing, you're responsible, especially like marketing and comms, you're often really responsible for the company culture
Mm,
in its tangible sense,
mm,
of if you've got a company that's full of very serious people and some people who are maybe not so serious, you need to find that perfect balance between it not being patronizing to the people who are quite serious. You develop all of that. And you have to kind of not take everything so seriously. And sometimes we do have instances where something has gone wrong and we need to deal with it in Fudge Kitchen. And I fall back into being like a junior marketing person and being like, we are selling fudge. Like we are not, curing cancer. We are not saving the world. We make an amazing product that does lots of good for people. They love it. It's fine. But at the same time, everything's a learning opportunity. I mean, please don't do that again, but it's a learning opportunity and don't take it so seriously. Um,
I've got the personal opinion of if if the senior team have fun in the business, then it's likely that everyone else will have fun in the business.
yeah.
And if everybody else has fun in the business, then your customers and clients and suppliers are going to enjoy working with you. And if they
Yeah, I
enjoy
think so.
working with you, then they're generally going to come back and buy more, or whatever it may be. But it comes from the top down. If the top level is having
Mm,
fun, then everybody else is having fun. Then that comes through to the customers and how they're treated and served. So I think it's a really important thing, and I'm glad you highlighted it. So yeah,
mm,
and yeah, that take a step back. Just think about what you've achieved, where you want to go. I think that's a really important thing as well.
mm.
So thank you for sharing those, Richard. And
Sorry.
I really appreciate you taking the time to
Mm,
speak with me today and sharing more about Fudge Kitchen, but also your
mm.
journey as well. So thank you very much.
Thanks. Pleasure. Cheers, Simon.